being safe. I'm at a red light and I'm gonna be going like 25 miles per hour, and I practically have both hands on the wheel because this phone is propped on the wheel. So one hand, my fingers are on the wheel, and one hand, my wrist is propped. So anyway, being as safe as I can, gotta be scrappy because I'm trying to keep this a surprise for Alan. So I read another chapter or two last night and did not realize until whichever chapter it was, 6, 7, did not realize that Ove is planning on ending his life. I should have figured that out, but because let me start from the beginning. Going into reading this book, I thought that his wife had passed away and he was a widower, sorry. But I hadn't like read the back of the book, and my memories of it were from a while ago. So the way that Bachman starts it, you don't know that his wife has passed. Like, I thought they were separated, and that's why he was sad. And so all the stuff about the realtor and like fixing up the house, I thought he was planning to like sell the house or was trying to do something to like reconcile with her. And once I found out that she had passed away, I did not update my previous assumptions and reframe them in my head to make sense with that information. So then when he is talking about, you know, he just wants to die in peace and is planning on ending his life, it just finally occurred to me, oh, so the hook that he's putting in the ceiling, that's for a different reason than I assumed. Canceling the newspaper subscription, that's for a different reason. He's not moving. Not wanting to leave the lights on, that's because he wouldn't be there to turn them off. They would be on all night because he would be dead. And when he told his wife, I'm sorry I didn't come yesterday like I promised, he didn't mean to the grave. He meant dying, I think. Anyway, that was a big like, what moment for me. And I just wanted to reflect on it while I'm driving through my neighborhood at a reasonable, safe speed. So, okay, those are my thoughts. I'll check back in upon further reading. Y'all, I just finished chapter 7 while Atticus was napping this morning, and I just dropped him off at my parents' house because I have to go teach, and Alan cannot watch him because he currently only has one arm. But anyway, so chapter 7 ends with him like hanging the noose and kicking the stool out from under him, and chapter 8 is titled like a man who was Ove, something, something, something. Past tense. Like, did this really happen? Did he just kill himself after 7 chapters? Wait, I think the first chapter was supposed to be like 3 weeks later. Like, I think there was a chapter and then it said 3 weeks earlier. I don't think 3 weeks had passed. We haven't caught up to that first chapter. So he must not have just died. I'm about to read on and find out more. So I'm gonna read you a quote and I want you to tell me if it sounds more like you or more like me. So, because there are right and wrong ways of doing things, as we all know.
That's you with the dishwasher.
I highlighted that one pink for me. Okay. All right, here's the next one. Idiot, thought Ove on that day. Me. And also today, all these years after, and every day in between, actually. How the heck are you supposed to have a reasonable conversation with someone who buys a BMW?
I mean, it's me because it said idiot.
What do you think about BMWs?
People that buy BMWs think they have too much money.
What kind of...
Eric has a BMW.
Eric
Yang?
Oh my gosh, really?
Yes.
What kind of car did you say your parents have now?
BMW.
A BMW? Okay, here's the next one. An entire country standing up and applauding the fact that no one was capable of doing anything properly anymore. The unreserved celebration of mediocrity.
I think I've said that exact thing.
I think you have too. I don't have a driver's license, she replies, mopping blood from her lip. What do you mean you don't have a driver's license? Asks Ove, as if her words were utterly inexplicable to him. Again, she sighs impatiently. Look, I don't have a driver's license, and that's all. What's the problem? How old are you? Ove asks, almost fascinated now. 30, she says impatiently. 30? And no driver's license? Is there something wrong with you?
That was me. That was definitely me.
Doesn't that sound? That was the one I was cackling at earlier. That was like, I literally, this entire conversation, like getting distracted because you're so shocked. And then, was there something wrong with you? Okay, Ove wanted what was right to be right and what was wrong to be wrong.
Huh?
Ove wanted what was right to be right.
Yeah, that's me.
And what was wrong to be
why are you asking me that one? That was easy.
Okay, what about this one? He knew very well that some people thought he was nothing but a grumpy old sod without any faith in people.
Christina, why would you ask?
But, to put it bluntly, that was because people had never given him reason to see it any other way.
Why would you ask that one? That one's easy.
It's you. But I want you to hear how much it's like you. Specifically the part about, to put it bluntly, that was because people had never given him reason to see it another way. He's like, I don't have any faith in people. When does the parking meter run out? 10 minutes. Don't you understand it'll take longer than 10 minutes? In that case, I'll go out and feed the meter in 10 minutes. Why don't you just pay for longer and save yourself the bother? Who does that sound like?
You bother me?
What?
I don't know. Who's that one? Who's
Who
that
do
one?
you think would rather work harder and save money than pay more than they needed to pay?
You.
Exactly.
That's what I said. And then you acted like you were confused.
Well, it was a conversation, so I didn't know which one you were. You said you bothering me.
Yeah, you bothering me. Being like, well, now just put in another thing. It's like, just pay for it now. Just do the whole thing now.
Because to me, it sounds like the person being bothered is the person who has the plan, and they're being like the parking meter plan. They're like, I got it, don't worry about it. This one was a good one. Ove looks at the book more or less as if it just sent him a chain letter, insisting that the book was really a Nigerian prince who had a very lucrative investment opportunity for Ove, and now only needed Ove's account number to sort something out.
That's not anybody. That's just a... I don't understand that one.
Who would make such a specific comparison?
Oh, me.
Yes. Here's another specific comparison. The toddler howls, jumping up and down on the bench in a way that finally convinces Ove that the kid is on drugs. Okay. Last one. This character, but it feels a bit like it was my fault, she says, concerned. You don't hand out parking fines, the council does, so it's the bloody council's fault, says Ove. And those fake policemen at the hospital. Who's that?
Me?
Yeah. That one's you.
Hi, it's Christina and Atticus. Say hi. No. He's sleepy, but he doesn't want to fall asleep, so he's a little grumpy. But now's a good time for me to hop on here and share some thoughts because Alan is working on recording Philip's book. He's working on recording the audio. Oh my goodness, are we falling asleep immediately? We are. Okay. Then I will talk quietly. But I read about 4 more chapters, so I'm going to share some thoughts on that. So I finally figured out that when it says a man who was Ove, it's flashback chapters. So it doesn't mean that he's died. It's flashback chapters, which is a relief to me. But I loved some of what I read in chapter 14. It's going over Ove and Sonia's kind of origin story as a couple, how they got to know each other, how they met and everything. And I highlighted the quote, and Ove realized that he wanted to hear her talking about the things she loved for the rest of his life. I kind of feel that way with Alan, where maybe I'm not interested in the same things as he is, just for their own merit, but I'm interested in him and what he loves about them. So I highlighted that quote.
Okay, I'm back. Brief delay, we got interrupted, but we're now in Atticus's room and he's having some floor time over here on his little playmat. So I'm gonna resume with chapter 15. Chapter 15 starts with something that, again, just sounds like a description that Alan would give. Not that he, anyway. So the slightly porky man on the other side of the plexiglass has back-combed hair and arms covered in tattoos. As if it isn't enough to look like someone has slapped a pack of margarine over his head, he has to cover himself in doodles as well. There's not even a proper motif as far as Ove can see, just a lot of patterns. Is that something an adult person in a healthy state of mind would consent to? Going about with his arms looking like a pair of pajamas? So again, just the like exaggerated description and the comparison. Alan and I have no problem with people having tattoos. We don't have them ourselves. And I don't know that we necessarily understand the desire to decorate your body so much, but why does it bother us what's on somebody else's body? It doesn't. So it's just a funny description. And then later on in the same chapter, have a good day, the man behind the plexiglass calls out behind him. We'll see, mutters Ove. That just sounds like an Alanism. And then again, later on in the chapter, the two men look at each other through the locomotive window as if they had just emerged from some apocalyptic desert and now realize that neither of them was the last human being on Earth. One is relieved by this insight, and the other disappointed. I'm going to censor this slightly. I'm so sorry. I don't believe in censoring art, but also I personally do not wish to say certain things. So just know that this is not the exact word that it says. I have no problem that it says this. I just don't want my mouth to say it. It was those new wave-shaped headlights, Ove notes, presumably designed so that no one at night will be able to avoid the insight that here comes a car driven by an utter poop head. An utter poop. It's just so funny. But y'all, this next one, the next chapter, it's another flashback and it's focusing on Sonia. Oh, I teared up and I had to read some to Alan last night after I read it, because like this is somewhat how I feel. It doesn't quite capture it exactly, but this is somewhat how I feel about Alan, because I haven't had a lot of people make comments about like, where are you with him or whatever. Like it seems that Sonia has experienced. I've gotten a few people have said things that I found to be hurtful. But no one's like questioned why I would want to be with Alan or anything. But anyway, you know, people are saying like, she could have done so much better. And this is her response. But to Sonia, Ove was never dour and awkward and sharp-edged. To her, he was the slightly disheveled pink flowers at their first dinner. He was his father's slightly too tight-fitting brown suit across his broad, sad shoulders. He believed so strongly in things, justice and fair play and hard work and a world where right just had to be right. Not so one could get a medal or a diploma or a slap on the back for it, but just because that was how it was supposed to be. Not many men of his kind were made anymore, Sonia had understood, so she was holding on to this one. Maybe he didn't write her poems or serenade her with songs or come home with expensive gifts, but no other boy had gone the wrong way on the train for hours every day just because he liked sitting next to her while she spoke. And when she took hold of his lower arm, thick as her thigh, and tickled him until that sulky boy's face opened up in a smile, it was like a plaster cast cracking around a piece of jewelry. And when this happened, it was as if something started singing inside Sonia, and they belonged only to her, those moments. And I really do feel like there are some moments that, a side of Alan that only I get to see. And in some ways that makes me a little sad for other people, because I think it's a pretty awesome side. And I wish that it was easier for him to be that authentic self around everybody. But there's a tenderness that he shows to me that belongs only to me and should belong only to me, if that makes sense. Like, that it's okay to me and to our son. Y'all, he has said some ooey gooey things about this child that he has made me swear not to repeat to anybody else. But he loves this little boy. Anyway, I teared up when I read that. I was like, oh, I love that. Yeah, and they belonged only to her, those moments. And I feel like I can understand that. Okay, later on, as for Ove, he felt he was at a job interview and he had never been very good at that sort of thing. Alan can totally relate to that. He hates the idea of job interviews. He's talked about that before on his channel. I'm sure y'all are familiar. And the last chapter I finished was chapter 18. Now, this is not a comment about, oh, that sounds like Alan, or oh, that sounds like me. This is a comment about, y'all, Sonia's pregnant, but like modern day Ove has not referenced a child at all. I'm gonna lose it if they lose this child. But I feel like they probably do, because there's no mention of a child. So like, maybe they're just estranged, but like, I just feel like that would have come up. So I don't know. I'm gonna be real sad. I'm gonna have a real hard time. You're gonna see me weeping on here if I get to film right after. Anyway, also side note, it's really hard trying to do a secret reading vlog or a surprise reading vlog. It's hard. I have to like sneak around and, but I'm really grateful for the Kindle app because I can make all my little notes so that I can remember what I wanted to talk about. So, okay, I'm gonna go hang out with my little boy while he's having some floor time. Bye.
Christina, are you crying from that book?
Yes, I am.
Why?
Because it's sad. It's so touching, honey.
Oh my gosh, honey, you're a mess.
Also, it's weirdly similar to things we've been through.
Well,
different, but
I'll read it.
I don't know, maybe you shouldn't.
Why? Why? It's very sad?
Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. I'll tell you once I know how it ends. I'll let you know if you should read it or not.
Okay.